Welcome to the Panic Room, where we talk about all things panic-inducing. I am the Queen of Panic. Warning, some episodes may contain content that may be disturbing to others. Viewer discretion is advised. Now let the games begin.
I light my cigarette, tears streaming down my face, recalling the night before perfectly. Eating dinner before the trick-or-treaters showed up, like every year. Setting the placemats, setting the table, and an unusual amount of aggression coming from my unfaithful husband. I take a deep hit off my cigarette, then drop it to the ground. I watch as the wet gasoline trail lit up in a blaze of hot flames, trailing all the way to what used to be my home, my safe haven. After a couple moments, I hear the screams and the wails of my husband and ungrateful children. Maybe I am out of my mind, I thought, touching the dark purple bruise around my bloodshot left eye. But at least I am free.
I peeked out of my window, trembling, breath heavy as I gripped a butcher knife close to my chest. How many of them were there? I counted at least 6 of them. As I finished counting, I noticed I made a terrible mistake. The last figure I counted was now staring up at the window. The sharp, toothy smile of the clown mask and its twisted features now visible as it stared. It waved at me and then pointed. Lunging forward towards my front door, I started to panic further. I need to hide. 1 shattered window, 2 shattered windows, 3 shattered windows. Footsteps. I don't think I hit fast enough. They know where I'm hiding.
What a perfect night for Halloween, I sighed happily, breathing in the autumn air. That's when I felt the hands grab tightly onto me. In one swift motion, I was spun around and a knife was thrust into the Buzz Lightyear costume my son chose for me, through the costume and into my stomach. I tried to scream, but the sound didn't escape my lips as I fell to the ground. Everyone continued on thinking it was some sort of prank, all while I struggled to breathe and the world went black.
Ringing the doorbell, surrounded by colorful lights, Bob was excited. Trick-or-treat! He yelled at the seemingly frail woman smiling at him. Her smile only got wider as her teeth started to resemble knives. She latched onto Bobby's little head and didn't let go, dragging him deeper and deeper into her home, never to be seen again.
As I walk up to the next house, I took note of the 2-headed planter sitting next to the shrub. How cool, I thought to myself. I looked back and my kid, who was now ringing the doorbell. No quick answer like normal, but We waited a little longer. Looking back at the planter, I see that as now standing and facing us. Weird. It was now a full body, holding a pumpkin still, two-headed. It looked bigger somehow. I thought I must have missed the first time, or that someone was playing a joke to me. It is trick-or-treat after all. The alternative, that it was moving when I wasn't looking, just looked too insane for me, right? I called my son to come to me, a little weirded out and ready to move on, and we turned around to leave. I looked to my son, asked him if he was having fun, and as I do see movement out the corner of my eye, I start to rush down the path. That is when I feel a tug, a rough tugging. The two-headed creature, much bigger now, is trying to drag my son into the shrub. Its eyes are deep, dark red, and it now has sharp and jagged teeth. My son is screaming and is begging me for me not to let go. When I lost my grip, I haven't seen my son since, but sometimes I hear his voice screaming from that house.
Three witches stir their cauldron, chanting spells all the way. Sprinkles of moondew, wormwood, and sloth bring death to all days. The cauldron bubbles and smoked in their sights. Death to all on Halloween night.
As I watched a murder of crows fly overhead in a beautiful autumn twilight, I thought it ironic as I plunged the knife deeper and deeper into the already unmoving victim. I smelled, taking in the serotonin I felt in the perfect autumn breeze.
As the jack-o'-lantern flickered, it showed in the gleam of the blade as I brought it down into my wife's liver. Surrounded by candy, I stabbed and stabbed until she no longer moved in the low light.
As the moon hit full in the night sky, I felt my skin start to tear. Once in wolf form, I hunted for a nice human carcass to feast upon.
Clowns? Clowns everywhere. I don't know what to do or where to run. I'm hiding out in this abandoned factory, but they're surrounding it. I need help. Shit. I thought I was caught. That one looked directly at me. Oh my god. What? Ah!
I heard the routine knock on my front door. Trick-or-treaters, I thought excitedly, grabbing my bucket of candy. With a smile, I opened the door. Nothing. Probably just a prankster, I thought. As I turned to walk away, it happened again. This time, the doorbell. I went to open the door, yet again, to an empty porch. I was starting to get creeped out, but closed the door slowly, trying to calm my nerves. Again. This time paired with knocking loudly. Escalating. I opened the door. Nothing. "All right, I'm calling the police," I said loudly, voice cracking, shutting the door much harder now. Ring, 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 ring. They slammed into the doorbell now. My breathing became fast and labored, on the verge of panic as I opened the door with a trembling hand. 1, 2, 3. I counted and sprung the door open. Nothing. I closed the door, resting my head against it, terrified, trying to calm myself down. As I turned, I half expected to happen again. Silence. I took a deep breath of relief. Then, It hit me. The baseball bat, as it blindsided me from my right.
Sitting on my back porch, I took in all the lightning bugs lighting up the forest line. It sure was a beautiful sight. The stars lighting up the sky side by side with the full moon. It really is breathtaking here. This was my first night in my new home, in the middle of nowhere, exactly what I dreamt of in my dream home. I took a deep sip from my coffee mug, taking in the autumn air, and sighed in pure ecstasy. Trick or treat, I heard my daughter say. Except my daughter wasn't supposed to be home for another 3 days. She stayed at the old house to finish packing and to spend the holiday with her mom while I unpacked some here, and it was coming from the tree line. I peered over to see if she was playing a prank on me, to see if she was in the tree line somewhere. Nope. Weird. But I thought maybe I was just a little tired. Possible. Then I heard it again. Trick or treat, smell my feet, coming from much closer now. What the hell? Trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. This time closer and coming from my left, whereas the other came from my right. That's when I heard a twig snap closer to the tree line and looked up. Is that a skinwalker? What is that thing? It was running towards me. I jumped out of my seat, grabbing onto the screen door. One of the things grabbed onto my foot, and I fell to the ground, kicking and screaming, all while the other two leapt on and repeated in unison, in my own daughter's voice. Trick or treat.
He laughed uncontrollably. Happy Halloween, he yelled before jumping out of the van and throwing a bag over my head. With my world pitch black, I am shoved in, and the van takes off at full speed.
Chewing my candy, I started to panic, my throat feeling like the walls were closing in. What's happening? I start to cough until I throw up. Blood! Oh my God! All I ate was a single Snickers bar!
Popping a piece of candy into my mouth, I crossed the empty street. It was emptier than normal. Weird. Whatever. More candy for me. My friends both canceled on me last minute and claimed bad things will happen if we go out tonight. Lame. When I was almost completely across the street, a loud static-like noise erupted from nowhere, paired with this blinding light. What the... That's when the gravity literally hit me. I found myself laying on the dirty street, flattened on my back. My head was spinning from how hard I hit the concrete. I couldn't move. Most importantly, I couldn't breathe. As I gasped for air, I watched as a huge figure emerged from the bright light that surrounded me. In all dark clothes, unreal long fingers, a huge head, black eyes, and a grotesque, sharp teeth. I started to panic, which further reminded me I could not breathe. As it got closer, it gave me an evil, sharp-toothed grin. "You're mine, human," it said. I felt myself lift off the ground, floating towards the sky, crying, not sure what was in store.
"Can I use the bathroom?" the little ghost at my door asked. I almost said no because this child was about 8 years old. I thought for a second and decided to say yes. "Right this way, sweetie," I said, leading her down the hallway. I pointed to the open door as the ghost murmured its thank yous. I stood back by the front door expecting more trick-or-treaters, but none came. I closed my door, headed back to the bathroom. It had been about 15 minutes since I left the child. They were gone. After checking my house, I decided they must have left and I went about my business. After a couple of hours, I was ready for bed. I walk into my bathroom and look into the mirror to wash my face. I stumble back horrified. In the mirror, I could see myself and my eyes were bulging out of their sockets. I was bloody and there was a rope around my neck. I rubbed my eyes and the image was gone. I must be tired, I thought, and headed upstairs. I changed my PJs, yawning as I lifted my shirt over my head. That's when I felt something hard hit the back of my knees. I yelled out in pain, falling to the ground. When I caught my balance, I looked up and saw someone in a mask lifting their foot back. I braced myself as the boot attached to them made contact with my nose and jaw. I yelled out again, holding where that boot made contact. Blood. Oh my God. I tried to get up to get away from my attacker, but they caught me by the shoulder and threw me back down, stomping on my chest and stomach repeatedly, taking my breath away. I coughed. I'm going to die, I thought to myself as the beating continued. After about an hour of this attack, I could barely move. I felt the broken bones any time I tried. The only view I had was the blood-stained carpet. That's when my attacker jerked me upright. Tears strained my cheeks from the pain I was in. They hoisted me over their shoulder, and I realized what was happening. To my horror, they created a noose. They lifted me up and put the noose around my neck. Right before they threw me off the balcony, I caught a glimpse of myself in my dresser mirror. Bloody, and the rope? Then they tossed me over. I imagine my eyes were bulging out of their sockets by the time I lost consciousness. Whatever that ghost was, don't let trick-or-treaters use the bathroom.
Trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. If you don't, that's okay.
I'll devour your soul and rule hell anyways!
I awoke from a deep sleep to the tickling feeling of something fuzzy on my face. Groggily, I sat up, wiping it away. Then I felt it again, this time on my arm. Becoming suspicious, I wiped it away again, telling myself that if it happens again, I will investigate. It happens again, this time in 2 different spots at the same time. I start to breathe heavily as I stand up to turn on the lights. I let out a blood-curdling scream. Spiders. Spiders everywhere. They're crawling all over my body as they start to bite. Wiping them away as best as I can, I become slower moving, eventually falling to the ground. I guess they were venomous, I thought, as I lost consciousness on my bedroom floor.
Donovan, are you okay? I asked my 5-year-old son as he sat on the sidewalk silently. He ignored me, just staring at the pumpkin sitting on our front porch. A look of confusion came across my face as I watched the pumpkin rot before my eyes. Not just the pumpkin, but my flower bed and the grass as well, as the wind whipped wildly around us. I gasped audibly, causing him to move his gaze to me. My airway started to tighten. The skin on my body felt tighter. My head felt like it might explode. I dropped to my knees. Donovan! Stop! I cried through labored breathing. But he didn't stop.
As he took the shortcut through the cemetery, he noted the full moon. Knowing it was Halloween night, he knew he needed to hurry. He's heard all the stories. That's when he heard the soil break and watched a hand jut out from the first grave. He knew he needed to run.
'Twas the night before Halloween, and all through the house, not a creature left stirring. They died like a mouse. The curtains are speckled with crimson so red, from the hopes that I dashed, and the path that she fled. The children they'll find, mostly in bed, soaked through from blood, because I took their head. Ma's dead in the kitchen, Pa stabbed in the back. They were both delicious, I'll attest to that. Now out on your lawn, it's still a late hour. Let's peek through that window and see what else to devour. Happy Halloween to all, and if you survive the night, remember that next year I could have you in sight.
This just in. The body of 22-year-old Jessica Thompson was found brutally murdered after a night out of drinking and Halloween fun. Witnesses say Jessica was last seen with a man in a, quote, creepy doctor costume. His face, however, was obscured with a surgical mask. Police have theorized she may have known, or thought she may have known, the suspect, as she followed him out with no hesitation. The suspect was covered in blood, and his eyes are said to be blood red. Yes, you heard that right. His eyes were blood red in color. Remain vigilant and report all sightings of this man whom police have deemed to be their prime suspect. Any information related to this case will be greatly appreciated.
As I entered the masquerade ball, I looked around. The decoration was still spooky vibes and Halloween, but mixed with masks. There were masked witches and wolves and... hello! I noticed a pale man in the corner, in what looked to be a vampire costume, matching perfectly with the Victorian dress and hair that I had going with my very own vampire look. I walked over to him as soon as we made eye contact. I am single after all. Hey, I said to him, noting the very real-looking cup of blood. His eyes, a deep red behind the mask. Looks like we matched on accidents. Want to dance? I asked him with a flirty smile. He smiled fast, almost as if he realized he needed to and didn't want me to notice. His fangs looked insanely real, but a cool costume.
Sure, he said,
taking my hand and leading me out to the middle of the candlelit dance floor. We start to dance, and I feel his grip getting tighter. He leans in closer, so close I feel his breath on my neck. Then he dips me low, whispering,
I want to taste you,
in my ear, and pulls me back up. Forward, I say, chuckling. And he laughs low unto himself. When he pulls me back in, he goes back to his breath against my neck. I was starting to feel a little uncomfortable by this point, but before I could do anything, he placed a hand over my mouth. Far too heavy, holding me firmly in place, painfully close to him,
and unable to scream. He throws his head back, fangs shining in the candlelight, and he bites me. I feel the blood leaving my body as I scream to no avail and try to struggle to get free, but it's no use. My eyes start to flutter as I go limp in his arms, and he keeps drinking until every drop is gone.
Whoa, is that a wolf? He thought, walking backwards. It can't be right. It's standing on two legs. Scared, he sat silently, watching as the thing whipped its head back and forth, showing its huge yellow eyes each time it looked in his direction. Then it took off, faster than any wolf he has ever seen. He stood up to start his walk back home, and thought to himself, it's a full moon tonight.
Standing at the altar, the groom waited excitedly. The couple was so excited to renew their vows. The moon was full on a Halloween night, and it was all coming together perfectly. They stood at the burned-down altar where they met every year. Standing amongst the debris, the bride walked down the aisle. Her updo was mostly burnt off, but what wasn't fell down in stringy and crusty strands. Her dress in burnt-up pieces, missing a shoe, and her skin was almost completely decomposed, showing her bones in many places. Her groom was in about the same shape. She smiled a skeletal smile, and a centipede crawled out. "Nothing will keep us apart, my dear," she swooned. "Forever," he said, as a spider webbed down from his empty eye socket.
Have you ever wondered what it's like in the graveyard for Halloween? There's ghosts a-floating, playing tricks on the unsuspecting, and witches brewing potions for the wicked. Skeletons dancing, pretending they're amongst the living. The bugs are writhing in and out of the dead. But the thing that shouldn't be is the man with the cemetery keys who fell and hit his head. Soon he will awaken, truly not expecting to no longer walk amongst the living, but rather with the dead.
Laying in bed, she heard her dog barking at something in the basement. This isn't normal for her dog. Normally, she would be in the bed with her the entire night, so she thought she would get up to investigate. Walking down the stairs, she heard the growls and barking become more aggressive. Turning the corner, she made eye contact with a man sneaking in her window. Halfway in, with a knife and a jack-o'-lantern mask, he let out a creepy laugh and then slowly backed out of the window. Halloween was ruined after that.
"Go long," he yelled to his friend. Football was a tradition before the Halloween party every year. They would go and throw the ball and get drunk later. His friend threw the ball back. Andy jumped in the air to catch it and show off, but when he came back down, he fell into a dark, muddy pile. Finding that it smelled like sulfur, "What the?" he thought. Then he saw the bones. He let out a terrified scream and threw up. Later they found out that the body that they found belonged to his mother, who he had thought was on a business trip.
One bat, two bat, three bat. This was unusual in my town. I very rarely see one, let alone a whole grouping like this. Huh. How peculiar, I thought to myself, staring into the night sky as I walked to my house. Peculiar indeed. I looked back in front of me, noticing an odd man dressed as a Victorian vampire. Weird. He wasn't there before. I would have noticed him in my direct walking path. Then I blinked and he was gone. What the hell? My eyes darted back and forth, thinking I must have missed him. Nope. He was gone. I felt a tap on my shoulder. Turning around, I only had a moment to notice the very realistic blood that covered him head to toe before he flashed a smile at me. What the hell? Were those fangs? I started to back away as he hissed a "Happy Halloween" and lunged forward for a bite.
Standing on the ladder, hanging lights for Halloween, she slipped, wrapping herself in the lights on the way down, suspending herself tangled in midair. "Whoa, that looks so real," said Jimmy to his father in an amazed tone. His father gasped, noticing the very realistic features. "Oh wow, that is very realistic. We need to give Mr. and Mrs. Robinson compliments when we see them next time, huh, Sport?" He tried to sound enthused, knowing the second he gets his son out of there, that he needed to call 911.
Finished, I thought, as I finished setting up my tent for the night. My friends will be here tomorrow to set up their tents for our Halloween party tomorrow night. I can't wait. Costumes, candy, booze, girls. This is going to be a blast. I just need to set up the ambience. Not that it's hard here in the middle of nowhere. This campsite is secluded, and it's super creepy at night. Perfect for my party. I hung the last lantern furthest away from my tent, the dance floor in a semi-clearing, when I heard a twig snap. My head flicked to the side faster than it ever has. I listened. Silence. Another twig. More silence. Weird, I thought, and headed to my tent. There was no need for me to be awake any longer, since the sooner I went to sleep, the sooner I could party anyway. I smiled, walking back. Behind me, I heard another twig snap, and to my surprise, I heard the voice of the girl I liked calling from the clearing. "Johnny?" she said. I smiled, and my mind went straight to where any teenage boys would. Me and my crush alone, at night? Yes. I grabbed my pocket to check that my condoms were still where I had put them, walking towards the clearing. "Sid?" I replied. "Johnny?" is all she said. I made a mental note that it was odd, but that was her voice. I'd know it anywhere. I strained my eyes to look for her in the darkness, having a hard time seeing anything 2 feet in front of me. That's when I tripped. Once on the ground, I felt around to get back on my feet. That's when I heard it. Growling. Then right next to me. "Johnny?" she said. "Sid?" I yelled back. Nothing, but running. Then I felt a sharp pain in my neck as whatever was pretending to be Sid bit into my flesh.
I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of the insanely talented narrators on this collab today. I think that you will all enjoy them so much. I know I did. We've got some amazing talented people in this narration community. All of the links are in the description, so if you would like to go subscribe and like and check them out, absolutely please do. Again, thank you so much, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any stories that you would like to see narrated here on the channel, please go into the subreddit and submit them there. The link is in the description. Also, we do have a Discord now. Thank you so much to Creepy Clown Girl for putting it together for us. You can come hang out with me and other narrators and get the party started, get spooky with us. That link is also in the description as well. And last but certainly not least, I wanted to introduce the King of Panic. We have a lot of brand new content coming soon with him in it. He is very talented. He does not have his own channel. He just kind of wants to be a part of this. So if you would like to hear from him once you start and you like his voice, stay tuned here. And as always... Thank you for visiting the Panic Room. You have successfully made it to the next portion of your tour. Please stay tuned for your next prompt. Click the like button and subscribe to receive notifications for when the next portion of your tour is ready to join. Thank you for watching. Don't let the panic drown you.